you will find that many people, upon joining, finding the new presentation, will be perplexed by this universal positioning. And if people have come from a background where they do certain things, have certain techniques, certain prescriptions for doing things, they will expect that too of how to attain a universal positioning. Now, what I want to ask is universal positioning an attitude or a technique to teach to reach that stage? Because many adherents of the new presentation have done other systems before, no matter if they are of a lower order, and they are used to techniques and other modus operandi. And certainly, newcomers will be curious to ask this question. So, how can you answer it? Is universal positioning an attitude or a technique?
Charles, your questions are always fun and very good. And very simply, I'll say in a few words, universal positioning is an idea that is a reference to the isness. That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
That's to start off. So that's the simplified version. That's exactly what it is.
It's an idea that's a reference to the
isness.
The isness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is. Now, with a little explanation, what it is that, so what we do is we use comparisons. That's what I do all the time. That's why I talk lengthily, because I bring in a lot of comparisons. You see, with the literal mind, it's kind of like in the courtroom where the cross-examining lawyer says, okay, asks a question, and the individual starts to say something, and the lawyer just says, look, I just want a yes or no answer. Say, just yes or no. And either answer, see, the lawyer says his question a particular way to where, and this is what they do on purpose too. It all looks okay, but really, I've been there, and it's very tricky. They're very tricky. They ask the question accordingly to where no matter what you answer, you've given them the answer they want. So it's kind of like asking a person, are you as dumb as you look? You see, so again, whatever answer you give, you've committed yourself in a particular way. So I use comparisons. And so what we've come through, like you and I, as a comparison. This is why we use it, okay? This is why many times the echos wonder, well, why do you always refer to Eckhart, Duane? Well, duh, I was there 31 years, okay? So it's a good reference. And it's a good reference of what not to do after I went through it, and which is fine. While I was there, it was fine. But once I got through it, it's a good reference of what not to do. Just like high school. Hey, I went through it, but then realized that, you know what, I don't need that. Now, it's just simply a reference of what not to do. I wouldn't do it again because I already went through it. And I recommend that people don't go through it. Do homeschooling or something else. Have more fun. Don't go to high school, but if you want to, go for it. But anyhow, so we'll use the corporation again as an idea and the soul travel idea. Paul started off with astral projection. Then he moved to soul travel because he did it a step at a time. First, the idea was first to show people that they were more than just a body. So that was his bilocation thing that he started off with. But eventually, as he started to see it like I do the new presentation and what I'm doing and deciding, he started to see that on the broad scale of the different levels in creation, the different defined places, he had to define it in some way. So he defined it accordingly, according to what had already been defined, and then added his own touch to it, of course. He updated it. And so it became soul travel. And for those that were not back there in the early 70s, it was called Eckankar, ASOST. That was the official label of Eckankar, Ancient Science of Soul Travel. And then as time went along, Darwin moved in and he changed it many times. He called it the path of total awareness. He called it this way or that way or whatever. He changed it many, many times. And then when Harold came back in, I remember one of the higher initiates meetings, and everybody applauded. And Harold says, well, I'm going to take it back to, what Paul originally did. And everybody applauded. Okay, well, didn't last long where that didn't even exist. So again, because Joni was there and she was deciding, not Harry, okay? Harry made a few pretty speeches, but then she got to him and finally decided, you're going to need some notes here, Harry. You just do what I say, okay? You don't need to think for yourself. And so, again, you have these different ideas. Now, what I've done, because now it was in 2001, I was shown, and I was seeing this all along, too, about this isness. And I recognized this. The boys didn't even tell me. They didn't come up and say, well, you're to present the isness. They didn't tell me that. I recognized it. I recognized what I was to present. And I was right on with recognizing that. And so as that started in 2001, it was a little bit funny for people, to start to understand what this is, this isness that Paul had hinted about it basically in dialogues in the far country. There's parts in there that Rebazar refers to. And so, but I recognized it and I went forward with it. I did. This was what I based everything upon, was this is. And then in 07, it became the all is. I saw that. Nobody told me. I saw it. And I knew that it was so as I was writing the books. It just came in. I saw that it was now the all is. But the is factor, the is idea is still there too. And so I wanted to define something that, like the soul travel idea, that would refer to this, because you have these different parts, like in your car, you have these different parts. You just don't have the engine block. You've got all the other parts, and just like your body, you just don't have the heart or the lungs. You got the stomach, the kidneys, the appendix, the whatever. Okay, the bladder, all these funny little things, the intestines. You got all these parts to it, and so the new presentation, as I created it, I had to create this. I had to create this new position, just like a business. It had many parts to it, and this is where I started creating my own words with it, etc. But I would see them. I would see them in the is. I didn't think them. In my first book or so that I wrote in 2001, it was very literal, and I wanted to publish something, but then when I looked at it, I didn't like it. It wasn't until I stepped back and went through all the funny stuff that I did that I really started to write the books that I have already, and they become a lot better. And so what I wanted to define this in some way, and I wanted it to be fun, and I wanted it to make sense at the same time for those that could see it. And so again, we're in the age that FBI, CIA, this and that. They're basically letters and initials. And in the business world that I deal with, it's like that too. LOI, and LOA, and whatever. Okay. POA, power of attorney. You use all these labels. So I wanted something that coincided with what would best define as a reference this reality, this isness, for a person to decide their position. So I decided, because I like the word universal, which I've changed, which is the UNU, and the initials are UP, which is up. You see? And so universal positioning made sense because it is a position. Realistically, that's what it is. You decide your position in life. You decide what you're going to be or do or whatever. And I see it as for myself, I decide to stand in the edge. That's my position. That's universal position. I don't have to move. I don't have to travel. I don't have to go anywhere. See, it's not about projection or travel. You see, these are misnomers. In other words, people are thinking from here to there, which there's really no such thing as. But as long as they use those ideas, then you might say they're fooling themselves. You know, they're thinking that, oh, if I move from here to there, the grass is greener on the other side. What actually, once you recognize the isness life is, everywhere you is, it is. This is the best part of it. So even though people, you know, have dreams or real side experiences where they're flying or what have you, which is a lot of fun, but really that's not it. That is not recognition of the isness, even though they're having the experiences. So people think, just like many of the Ekas do, because they have out-of-the-body experiences or this or that, well, okay, they've reached their position and they're saved, you see? They're saved. And it's just like people that read the Bible, they think, oh, I know the Word of God and I believe in Jesus, I'm saved. No, it's not that at all. There's a whole lot more to it. So I created the idea as a reference to the isness, universal positioning. In other words, you don't have to project or travel or go to the mental plane or so-called go to the seventh level. You see, this is the literal side. You don't have to go anywhere. All you have to do is recognize it here and now. And what's so cool about the isness life is that when you completely recognize this isness for yourself, well, all of creation, you might say, becomes available because you are the creator of whatever you decide accordingly. So you become like the sun shining. And again, like the sun shining, what is it that you need? Now you're in a real position, which is always here and now. It's never there in the past or in the future or anything like that. Just like people are waiting for Jesus, and they're going to just keep waiting for him because they have decided to agree with the idea of waiting for him, you see? They haven't recognized a real position for themselves. They go along with the ideas that they've created. And see, soul travel and bilocation are ideas. And even Paul said it, and it is very so, that soul travels only in the lower worlds. Well, he used lower and higher. Well, I don't use lower and higher because there's no such thing. It's an isness. Isness is complete. Why would you need to refer to the pieces in creation that are secondary to the isness life is that's already complete with everything? So it's just simply a matter of recognition now. It's not a matter of figuring it out. You don't figure life out. You can't. But you can learn to recognize it. In creation, we figure things out. That's what we do in creation. We have 2 + 2 = 4. And then we have X + Y = whatever, okay, equals Z or whatever. Okay, that's like algebra. You figure things out. And so this is what people have been conditioned into, and they've been so conditioned, and you see it in the corporation too, they've been so dumbed down and conditioned and accepted it that they're really in a one-dimensional order of physical astral, and that's one-dimensional. They're not two-dimensional, even though there's the physical and astral. All of creation is really one-dimensional. It's really one-dimensional. It's one idea compacted. It's like a vitamin pill. Everything in one little pill. That's really what it is. But yet when you spread it out, it looks like there's all these varieties there. Well, you can create anything you want, so the varieties have been created. That's creation. It does apply. But the isness, it's the best because it's endless. And so the UP idea, universal positioning, yes, it's perplexing. I know that. That's the fun part. And that is that I've even written in things in the books, and I remember as I wrote certain things, I don't remember what they are, that I purposely left it perplexing. I did that on purpose. Paul did it too. Yeah. Everything cannot be defined. The best part of life is undefined. And UP, universal positioning, oh yeah, that's very interesting, isn't it? Yeah, because everybody wants to project. You see, they want to travel, they want to project, they want to have that thrill. They want to do quantum leaping, they want to do remote viewing, they want to do all these things, which is fine. It's all part of it. We all do these things. That's where I created the universal seers. Because again, see, it implies it's the U.S., it's us. We're universal super beings, we're universal seers. You know, I move it along those lines, so it's kind of fun. And that's really what we are. We see what others don't see. So UP, universal positioning, is the same thing. It is a reality that I've created, and it does work according to the isness. But in creation, it's a perplexity. Yes, it's a paradox because of how creation is. Not according to what UP is or the isness is. The isness is the isness. But because there's cause and effect in creation, this becomes the paradox. And so, you know, it's interesting when people define this so-called reality here that we've created and decided upon, because it's just agreement. Whatever's agreed to is reality. Okay, it's just, and it's based on agreement. But then we have the ideas of the imagination and fantasy and animation and all these things, thinking that, oh, these are fun things, and actually most people are more into that than they are their own personal reality, but that they see it as fantasy, that it doesn't really exist. But yet they relate to it in their everyday world. Is there really a Mickey Mouse? Look at how many people in the world know Mickey Mouse and love Mickey Mouse. What is Mickey Mouse? A cartoon character? Yeah. See, it's all real. Everything in life, this is where I've said many times, nothing is negated because it is all real. You decide your reality. Because fantasy, the label of fantasy is just a label. But the reality of what it is decided to be is just as real as this. It's all the same. It's all the same reality. You see? But we've created these different things. We've created definitions about what already exists. All creation exists. And then within creation, we've created ideas about creation. This is ideas upon ideas upon ideas. And so again, UP is a reference to the reality. Just like I said in the beginning, it is it's a created idea. It's a created reference to the isness. That's all it can be. It can only be a hint. And then the individual, you decide if it is going to be your reality, or you can do the old stuff. You can keep projecting, you can do the soul travel thing, whatever. But even with that, you can have all the experiences you want in creation or wherever. But it doesn't mean you recognize. When you choose a real position, universal positioning, then accordingly, life itself occupies that reality according to how that is referenced and defined. You see, that becomes the difference. So when you want to do astral projection, or you want to follow Buddha, or you want to do soul travel, whatever, things are going to go according to what that definition or that idea refers to. You see, that becomes the difference. So UP refers to, and you might say is the real connection and alignment with the all is. That's the whole idea. That's the intent. Where these other things, is soul travel the intent with the all is? No. It's Tehari and the Kalam God. See, even though it sounds good, it sounds poetically holy and all these things like that and sacred, but it's baloney. It all just goes to the Kalam God. It all goes to Harry and Joni so they can tap line you. But it does sound really cool, doesn't it? Soul travel, astral projection, all these things. You see? Where does it refer to? Where's the intent? Where are all the factors that equal what that equals? That becomes the reality. So here we're in the label world, And uniquely so, I like the idea of universal positioning. It's cool because it is very real, and it does reference this true reality. So again, what I'm referring to provides the most effortless position for people to wake up and free themselves, as opposed to all the effort people are putting into trying to figure out themselves and their real awareness.